commissioner. She previously served as a commissioner on the Houston Commission on Disabilities for the mayor's office. Dr. Townsend is also a member of Alpha 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 National Honor Society. But of all of her roles and accomplishments, Dr. Townsend proudly considers her most important and meaningful job to be that of a parent. Her love for her daughter inspires the compassion, strength, and determination she brings to every aspect of her work and service. I give you Dr. Shelley Townsend.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Since I've never been on this end of the panel, I need to make sure that I can see let me see. Okay, and then I need to see one other thing. Nope, not that. Excuse me 1 second. Let me go back again, because with me being host, I see people to admit into the room, which is probably not good. All right, give me a few seconds. Let me get my bearings here. And thank you all for coming this afternoon or tonight, because I know there are a lot of things that we could be doing. Usually I'm watching all of the shows on Channel 2 and solving mysteries and murders and all of that stuff. So 1 second. Why is it not doing this? All right. It's totally different on this side. So excuse me 1 second. Let me go back. All right. Okay. And then let me get back to the Zoom, which I know you all don't see it. Okay, so I see that. Now, you cannot see. Can you see anything?
No, ma'am.
Can you all see anything? That's
No,
the question.
No, ma'am.
You can't see my slides?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, that's interesting, because I just hit share. Okay. Let's try it again. Can you see the slides now?
Coming in. Yes.
Yes.
We see.
Yes.
Yes.
But then it won't let me show. Okay. Well, we're going to do one other thing. Because I don't want to talk off the cuff, I needed the notes. And when I practice at work, it worked. But when I'm here, it's not. And so I need to be able to see my notes. 1 second.
Okay, no worries.
All right.
There are some are.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. And I'm going to get back out and do it again. I just need it to be as pretty as it was at work. Okay. Presenter layout, share. And then from from the beginning. All right, it's not doing what I wanted to do. All right, well, that's okay. We're going to move on. I should have printed it. All right, so how do you connect the dots? And it's very important for parents or children with disabilities to learn how to connect the dots. Can you see the screen? That's what I want to know. Yes?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So for parents, first of all, let me thank Dr. Vincent, Matthew Bridges, Renee Horton, and Jeffrey Porter for your assistance this afternoon. And Dr. Vincent, thank you, and Matthew for inviting me. I really appreciated the invite.
Thank you.
So before we start, let me just say that this presentation is intended for educational purposes only. It's from my personal experiences. The statements of fact and opinions expressed are those of me individually, what I've experienced as a parent of a young adult with the disabilities, unless stated to the contrary, are not the official policy, opposition, or views of the University of Houston, its faculty, or its affiliates. So how many of y'all feel like you're a superwoman or superman? Because when it comes to your kids, you feel like you have those extreme powers that will take you where you need to go for your child. And sometimes we go in those dangerous spaces that I would say you go there and you say, oh, I probably shouldn't have gone there, but you did because you want to get what's best for your child. And so for me, I've been that superwoman for my child because it's really important for me to give her what she needs to get the supports that she needs. And so sometimes there are times that I've been in places that I know that I shouldn't have been in, but I was there because I needed to get something for my child. And I had no fear. It was just like, I just need to do this for my child. And so I don't know how many of y'all have been there, but yeah, it is an experience that when you do it, you're like, okay, well, I did conquer that. Okay, well, let me see what else I can do. And it's really important because you are your child's advocate. So when you're introducing your child to the community, we have something called the profile. And if they're going to be going to camp or they're starting school or they're going just on a job site, you want to do something that's going to say, it's one-page profile. This is my child. What do people like about them? How best to support them? You put a portrait of them, and then you say what's important to them now, what's important to them in the future. And this is just a simple introduction of who your child is, because I know when parents began to go out into community or the child is just starting school, then what happens is you spill your guts, and sometimes you spill some things that are not really that important to the teachers, and they just say, okay, and they go on. But if you have a document such as this gives them an idea of who your child is in a quick version. And then you can say, well, if you want to meet with me later, that's fine, but here's something that you can look at that'll help you with my child. Who is in your child's circle of support? And sometimes I'll ask parents like, well, who do you go to? Who do you talk to when you're trying to get services for your child? So you look at the child as a center of everyone. And then you have your family and you have your friends, you have your neighbors and the community, you have your local developmental organizations, and then you have health and social care and professional supports, which may be your social workers, your doctors, your nurses. These are the supports, the outer circle. And then family and friends. Who are the friends that will support you? Who are your family members that support you? And I know for families, sometimes people will tell you, oh, you're so brave. And you're like, well, not really. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do for my child. And I don't know how you do that. Yeah, but it's my child that I'm trying to make sure that I do get everything that I need for them. So look at your circle of support to see who supports your child. When you start connecting the dots, you think about, I have my child. And sometimes when they're younger, you don't think about these things, but where are they going to live? What's long-term care look like for them? The community colleges, can they go to those? What are the legal arrangements I need to think about? What about employment? Getting them around, transportation, financial planning, socially, what is their social life going to be like? And so it's really important for families to start thinking in these areas, because your child is a child for a minute, but they're going to be an adult for a lifetime. So thinking about what my child is going to do is really important. So I like to look at data, and I looked at, in the entire United States, nationally, there are 341 million people. In the state of Texas, there are 31 million people. And in Houston, there are 2.4 million people. When we look at the children below 18, nationwide, there are 74 million children. Statewide, there are 8.4 million children, and locally, there are 540,000 children under the age of 18. If you look at children with special health care needs, nationally, there are 14.5 million children. Statewide, there are 1.73 million children. Locally in Houston, there are 298,000 children with special health care needs. And if we go further into special education, those that are in school, nationally, there are 7.5 million kids in school in special education. And statewide, there are 857,000 kids. And then locally, there are 20,000 kids. And those numbers keep evolving and changing. But you look at the dynamics and just look at the whole state of Texas and say, wow, there are 1,007,000 kids with disabilities in the state of Texas. So when you start thinking about services, can they really serve 1 million kids? Probably not. But it's important to know these facts, because when you start asking for services for your children, you need to know what the facts, what the data is. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is really important. So we deal with the basic needs, psychological needs. Everybody needs food, water, warmth, and rest. So it's the same thing for our kids with disabilities. We want them to feel safe and secure. We want them to have a feeling of belonging, and they want to have relationships with friends. They want to have a feeling of accomplishments, and then actually fulfilling one's full potential in life. Those are just the basic needs of human beings, and it's the same thing for our children. What does transition look like? Well, for a typical family with typically developing children, yeah, that you have the baby, they have friends, they're in preschool, they graduate, and then they go to a job. But when you think about our children, yes, we have the baby. They're in a room filled with children with disabilities. We want them to graduate, but do they graduate to a job, or do they graduate to the sofa? And that's something to think about, because a lot of kids, most parents say, well, I want my child to graduate, but what are they graduating to? And if they don't have the skills, then what are the next steps for them? When you think about your children, I would say, where are they going to live? Are they going to live with you? Are they going to live with the siblings? Are they going to live with other relatives? Are they going to live in a community setting? Is it going to be a long-term care facility? Will they live in group homes, single family homes? Will they have a roommate? Or will they live in an institution? These are very things to think about because we think that our children are going to leave us and go live someplace else. But if you start looking at what kind of money would they have to be able to live on their own, and if they're on Social Security, SSI, $980 won't carry them very far. So you have to start planning ahead to think about, well, where's my child going to live? And know that unless they're on one of the waivers, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, they will probably be living the rest of your life. How accessible is your house? Because parents say, well, I want my child to have a job. Well, their first job is in the household. You start giving them tasks to do. You know, can they cook a simple meal? Can they turn a microwave on? Can they wash dishes? Can they separate clothes to laundry? Can they take showers independently or they need supports? Can they manage their own money? And since we're becoming a cashless society, it matter too much anymore whether they can count money. If they have a debit card or a credit card, they can use that. But learning how much they have in their bank account is really important. And teaching them money management is so important. When you start giving your child medications, some parents will say, well, I give them the blue pill, and the child knows it's a blue pill, or I give them a yellow pill, child knows it's a yellow pill, or I give them a white pill. But you need to start helping them with transitioning, knowing the names of their medication, explain to them why they're taking it. Are they able to tell you if something does not feel right? Do they know what time of day to take their medication? I know with my daughter, I started telling her the names of the medications and what it was for, so that when she goes to her primary care physician, she's able to answer the questions like, do you know the names of your medications? And yes, she can tell it. Do you know what it's for? Yes, she can tell them. And so that's part of transition is medication management, letting your child talk about their medication, and you can give it to them in bits and pieces like, okay, we're going to give you this pill today and it's called and do repetition with them because that's how our kids learn is through repetition. So you start telling them about the names of their medication, not that it's the yellow pill or it's a red and yellow pill, but the actual names of the medication and why they're taking it. Medical appointments. Do they know the names of their doctors and why they see them? Some kids see a lot of doctors, and it's important for them to know why they're going to the doctor. Do you let them sign their name on the check-in book or the computer when they get to the doctor's office? That's a start of transition for them. They're knowing that it's important that I sign my name when I go in, not that I just sit down and mom does the work, but that I'm able to do this and it makes me feel important. Do you allow them to answer questions from the doctor? And I know sometimes that's hard because our children will just say one word sentences. And then, unless the doctor's probing, they may not get all the answers from them. But I allow my daughter to answer the question. And then, if I have to chime in, I will chime in and say, well, it's this. Or if I have to prompt her memory, say, well, why do you think you're doing this? And so then she says, oh, because. And so that's really important to teach them how to talk to the physicians because they're going to be relying on them when we're no longer here. And that's really important. So when we talk about the waivers, and I can't see you all because I have just my voice talking, but they're called the waivers, they're called the wait list, they're called the interest list. And the reason they're called this is because they went through a transition. and now they're just called the interest list. There are several different waivers, and I know parents say, well, did you get on the list? Did you get on the list? Well, I guess I did. Yeah, I got on the list, but I don't know. It was a while back. I don't know what list I'm on. Some people will tell me, oh, I don't know. I signed up for something a long time ago, but I haven't heard from them, so I don't know what that is. And so it's very important to understand what the waivers do and why they exist. So the waivers provide long-term care for our children with disabilities. So there are 6, 7 long-term care waivers, really 6, and we just have the Yes Empowerment Services. But the CLASS program, Community Living Assistance and Support Services, and it's for those kids who may have physical disabilities and may have a cognitive issue. Long-term care means once they get on the list and their name comes up for services, they will have this service for a lifetime. So it's very important to put your child's name on the list, on the waivers. The Medically Dependent Children's Program, MDCP, are for those kids who are medically fragile, those kids who have G-tubes, who have trachs. They're medically dependent on equipment to survive. Deaf, blind, and multiple disabilities. That's for those kids who are deaf, blind, and have multiple disabilities. Texas Home Living Waivers, that falls under the local intellectual developmental organizations here in Texas. So you have the LEDAs, which it's called, and you have community-based services. First started being a part of the Harris Center for Mental Health and IDD, they only had the home and community-based services, and that's for those kids who may have autism, they may have Down syndrome, things of that nature. They have to have a certain level of need in order to qualify for the HCS program. But what happened is there were so many kids on the list that the leaders decided, oh, we're going to do another list. And this is going to provide short-term care for them, meaning we'll do a small budget, give them a piece of the pie while they wait for the bigger piece of the pie to get off of the HCS list. They can receive services from the Texas Home Living. So the budget for this is not that big, but it's enough to provide those services that that child may need while they're waiting on the other list. And then you have the Yes Empowerment Services for those kids who have mental illnesses. So these are the phone numbers for the long-term care Medicaid waiver programs. And I'm going to share with you all a list of all of these names, but I wanted to just show you what they look like. So CLASS and MDCP and deaf, blind, multiple disabilities are the same number. Texas Home Living is part of the LIDA, Local Intellectual and Developmental Disability Authority. And HCS, Home and Community-Based Services, is part of the LIDA, Local Intellectual and Developmental Disability. And then the YES program is part of the Local Mental Health Authority. And then you have STAR Plus. So as I said, the CLASS program, Community Living Assistance and Support Services, is a long-term care program. And they were designed to provide services in the home for that child with a disability without being institutionalized. And that was the purpose of long-term care, is that if you can provide the service in your home for your child, then they don't have to be in an institution getting services, because it's much cheaper to provide the service in the home. So the types of services that are provided, and I don't want to read all of them, but one of the main things is the habilitation attendant. And my child originally, when I moved to Texas from New York, and I'm a Texan, but I moved to New York and lived there a while. But originally, when I got here, in 1999, and she was 4 years old, there were about 300 and some odd people on the class list. 300 and some odd people. Okay. And somebody told me get on the list when I got here. So I put her on class and I put her on MDCP. I did not put her on HCS immediately because I didn't think I needed it. But when she was getting ready to age out of the daycare centers, I received a letter in the mail that said her name came up for MDCP and for class. And I was like, that is wonderful, because the daycare had already told me she's aging out and we can't care for her anymore. And I was thinking, okay, what am I supposed to do? Do I stop working and I just come home and take care of her? And so it was a blessing that I was able to have those choices. And I didn't need MDCP because at that time she had seizures. And so she was medically dependent on medication to stop the seizures. But I took the class program and I was able to get an habilitation attendant in the household so that I could continue working. So that person would come in the morning, and when I came home in the afternoon from work, that person would leave. And with the class program, they also have some therapies. They have aqua therapy. They have horseback riding. They have recreational therapy. They have music therapy. So class was really a jewel because I was able to get her therapies, and these people would come into the household and take her out in the community and do activities with her. So the class program was a jewel for me and for her because that started developing her other skills that I didn't know that she had. As I said, the MDCP is for medically dependent children. And so it goes up to age 20. And then they receive mostly nursing care, private duty nursing care. And you can understand why if they have a G-tube and a trach, they need more nursing, but they do provide some other supports for them. Deaf, blind, multiple disabilities. This is a condition that children display before age 22. They must meet the level of care criteria for placement in care facilities for individuals with intellectual disabilities. And so these are the services they provide. And so, as I said, there are not that many deaf, blind, and multiple disability kids in the state of Texas. Texas Home Living, as I said, was a piece of the pie from home and community-based services. And so the kids have to have an IQ of 69 or below, or have an approved related condition with a 75 or below. They have to have mild to severe deficits and adaptive behavior. They have to be eligible for Medicaid benefits, and they can't be enrolled in more than one program. And these are the services that they provide. And then when you look at the bigger piece of the puzzle, then it's the home and community-based services. And here they have to have an IQ of 69 or below and have an approved related condition with an IQ of 75 or below. Have to have mild to severe deficits and adaptive behavior. They're eligible for Medicaid benefits, and they're not enrolled in any other Medicaid program, Medicaid waiver program. So they can be on the list waiting for services, but they don't have to, but they cannot get services from HCS and class at the same time. It has to be one or the other. So if your child is waiting for class and their name comes up for HCS, you can say, okay, well, I think I want to move to HCS. Well, class closes your child's name off of their program, and then you move to HCS. Okay. Or if you were on HCS and your name came up for the class, and you decide, well, I don't really want class, then you just stay on HCS. The YES waivers provides non-traditional services, and it's to help improve the youth's health, welfare, and functioning in their community. And they provide specialized therapies, and they have various community supports. And it's for those kids who have mental health needs. and then Star Plus. So what happens when a child is on MDCP up to age 20? Then they move to the Star Plus program at age 21 so that they don't lose their services. They just transition over to the next step, which is the Star Plus program. So as I said, I like to look at data, and this is data that's going on constantly on the Health and Human Services website. So here, as of August 31st, there were 96,000 kids on the class list. There were 2,324 kids on the deafblind and multiple disabilities. There were 128,000 kids on HCS, MDCP, 7,000 kids, Star Plus, 15,000, Texas Home Living, 116,000 kids, totaling 366,000 kids in the state of Texas waiting on the list. In September of last year, they released some names. Sorry, move without me saying. They released some names. So class, they only released 2,556 names out of the 96 that are waiting. Deafblind, they released 205 names. HCS, out of the 128,000, they only released 284 names. MDCP, only 2,000 names. Star Plus, 9,000 names. Texas Home Living, 2,000 names. So totally across the state of Texas, they released 16,000 kids' names to start receiving services. And then more kids were added. And then the current list includes, for class, 96,000 kids are back. It went up to 96,447. And as you can look across, I don't want to read it, but you can see how the numbers have fluctuated. And there are 369,100 kids on the list. But some of these are duplications because, as I said, kids can be on all the lists if their disability qualifies them for them. So if you have a kid with autism, they could be on class and HCS at the same time. And if their name came up for class, then they will get services from class. And then 10 years down the line, their name may come up from HCS, and then they can switch over to HCS or vice versa. So out of this 369,000, there are 196,000 that are unduplicated. So that lets you know that there are like 100,000 kids that are duplicated in these numbers. And this is real-time information that you can get off of their website. Now, if you hadn't got on the list, it's really important because this is years on the wait list. And as you can see with the class program, there are some kids who've been waiting for 18 years, 17 to 18 years, and they're 575. Okay. There are some kids that have been waiting on HCS. 2,000 kids have been waiting on HCS for 17 years. For Texas Home Living, there are some kids who've been waiting 15 to 16 years. So that makes you know, okay, if I haven't got on the list, I need to get on the list because they tell you, oh, it's going to be a 10-year waiting list. It's going to be a 12-year waiting list, where you can actually see it in real time on their website what the term of the wait list is. And so it's really important because you say, well, if my child is 18 now and I put them on the wait list and it's 10 or 12 years, that means they're going to be 30 by the time they get off the list. And that's going to make me, goodness. Okay. So really important that you all put your child's name on the list. Now, the state has made it easier now for people to sign up for the waivers. You used to have to call the phone numbers, and then you would listen to elevator music for about 10 minutes, and then a person would come on and say, what's your name? What's your child's name? What's your address? What's their date of birth? They may ask, what's their disability? But now they made it much easier. And this is on the ARC of Greater Houston's website. where you can sign up directly under your Texas benefit and place your child's name on the list. And these are just instructions of how to do it. With the leaders, you have to call your individual leader and join the wait list. But I think recently they just did something where you can do it. You can do it also on the Your Texas benefits. I did find something recently. So it's much easier. You can do it yourself late at night while you're sitting there. Oh, let me go on Your Texas benefit and place my child on the list. What skills does your child have? And as I said, well, I want them to get a job. Okay, well, can they do things in the household? So I've given them jobs at home. Let them make up their bed. Well, I don't like the way they make up their bed. Well, it's okay. They made it up. Let them take out the garbage, or let them sweep or vacuum their room. Let them wash dishes. Well, they don't wash them good. I have to go back and wash them. It's okay. They washed it. Let them put dishes in the dishwasher. Let them separate their clothes for washing, and they can wash and fold their clothes. Teach them how to do that, because these are transition skills that they need as adults. If you need to use visuals, do that. You can model for them, but give them a choice and then give them feedback and tell them they did a great job, even though in your head, like, I know they didn't, I got to go back and wash this dish. Oh, they put water all over the floor. It's okay. Give them jobs to do in the household, because it's going to transition to the community. So we know how many people are in the state of Texas, 2.4 million. And out of that, how many people that you can go and see, and that you look at Kroger's, H-E-B, Lowe's, Walmart, Walgreens. These are just the stores where you probably would see people with disabilities, but you don't see that many. So what do you think is happening to the other young people? They are probably at home, or they may be going to a center or something like that. But really important while kids are in school is connect to Texas Workforce Solutions. And I know that they have kind of transitioned, because you used to have vocational rehabilitation specialists in the school systems. That was when my daughter was going. I had somebody who was following her from 16 all the way up until she graduated, and was trying to help her get a job. And they kind of transitioned where they now contract with community organizations who in turn can do those services that the Texas Workforce Solution was doing. If your child is able to work, can they do so independently, or do they need somebody to be standing over them? So the Texas Workforce Commission used to go with the child on the job site, and they would stay with them probably a month, and then they were through, because I got them on the job and they look like they're doing well, but then some children need additional supports, and they don't provide that kind of support. They just don't, but there are agencies out there that will provide that kind of support. Work well with others as a team. How many hours can they work? Can they stand up on their feet a long time? Do they have problems with mobility? Like Simone was, my daughter was working through the heart program, and she had a job at CVS. But the only thing, she has mobility issues and she couldn't stand up long. And so she was sitting on the floor doing shelving, arranging products on the shelf. But then when it came time for her to get up, it was hard for her to get up. And so if the job coach had really been astute enough to say, can we get her a chair where she can sit in the chair and do the job, that would have been good. But the fact is, when you're sitting on the floor all day and you got to get up, that's hard, or people got to pass by you and they're wondering why you're not getting up. That's hard for a person with a disability, because they just focus on doing that job. Okay. Will your child need help finding a job? Will they need help learning a job, keeping a job? Do they receive Social Security benefits? Because that affects also their working. We think about options for college, and everybody say, well, I want my child to go to college. But colleges, you have to to actually have a good foundation when you go to college. You can't just say, well, I want my child to go to college. They can go, Lee College has a good disability program, University of Texas, but they have to keep their grades up. There's not going to be anybody there like they had in high school that holds their hand and sit with them and make sure they do everything correctly. They're kind of like on their own. And so it's really important to think about, okay, well, I want options for college for my child. I know that Houston Community College FAST program has a wonderful program, and they do a test of them to see if their reading ability is up there. I think it's third grade reading level. And then they go to school, they go to college campus for about 2 days a week or 3 days a week. And then at the end, after 2 years, then they start bridging them into going to work, because they've contracted with different organizations out in the community, and they have a person that kind of shadows them, teaching them how to ride metro, ride the bus to that job site. And so they have expanded their program since Simone went there. And so they're really looking at how to better help young people in actually training for jobs out in the community. What have you done to prepare for long-term care for your child? And that's really important, because you think about, okay, well, I'm going to, I know I did my will and I'm leaving everything to my child. Oh, I have my life insurance and I'm leaving everything to my child. Oh, I'm going to leave the house to my child. Oh, I'm going to leave the car for my child so somebody can drive her around. But you have to think about also, if your child is going to receive government benefits such as SSI, and they're going to receive Medicaid, what you're leaving them is considered assets, which will knock them off of those services. So you have to be very astute about how you prepare for long-term care for your child. I can leave money for my child, but I have to leave it in a special needs trust. I can't just leave it in a regular trust. I have to leave it in a special needs trust. Therefore, my child will keep their benefits. I can write my will and state that the monies that are coming from my life insurance policies are going to be put in a special needs trust for my child so that they can live a good, productive life. So you can't just leave money to them directly. You have to put it in a format or in a way such that your child can not lose their benefits. So these are legal arrangements that people use for their children. Durable power of attorney and medical power of attorney are two legal documents that need to be notarized. If your child is smart enough to understand what you're telling them, then these are the two things that you can use for them. It's just as if you had aging parents and you needed to take care of them and take care of their business, take care of their medical. Same documents. Supportive decision making. That's a legal document also that has to be notarized. If your child can tell you, yes, mother, I know that you're going to help me do such and such and such, then you can do the supportive decision making. If your child cannot make any decisions for themselves cognitively, then you have to go through guardianship. Okay. And guardianship is very, very expensive. I know why they did this, but for parents who have children with disabilities, it's like robbing, just about. It's like you have to make your money as an attorney. And I know they did it to protect people who needed guardianship, but for our children with disabilities, most parents would say, well, I've been making decisions for them all their lives, and I should be able to make a decision for them. But the rules say once they turn 18, they're adult. And if they can't cognitively make decisions, then you have to have guardianship. And when you go before the courts downtown, they are going to ask that child questions, and they will determine whether or not they need guardianship or not. But it is expensive to do guardianship. And that's why they have the durable power of attorney and the medical power of attorney and supported decision-making forms. So SSI, and a lot of people get these confused. SSI is supplemental security income, provides food, shelter, and clothing for people of low income. SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. If you're working, you become disabled, you aren't able to care for your family, then you will receive a check, Social Security Disability Insurance, and the check may be $3,000 for you. Your child will receive an additional $1,500 from the SSDI. So that means that your child with a disability is not lacking any support from you. Financial planning also, and I already told you that the SSI is $900 and something per month. The ABLE account, Achieve a Better Life Experience Act, was designed for parents to keep monies in an account for their children that would be tax-free. So annually, you can invest $19,000 in the account for your child, but it can't be over $500,000, $500,001 for them. It has a cap. So ABLE account is a good way to save money for your child. So if your child is receiving SSI, you can start using $25 a month to put it into the ABLE account. And then by the time that child is an adult, then they have some funds there, because that's going to be for them to be able to use to help them with their food, shelter, and clothing. You can start a bank account for your child, a savings account, with little as $25 a month or to $100. You can do a special needs trust. And I know that the Arc of Texas has something called a pool trust. And so that's where everyone can put their money in their one big account there and have access to it. And that's why they call it pool, because it's all in one big bundle. How much money will your child need to live on? And that's really important when you think about the cost of things these days. The $900 that they're getting from SSI is not going to cover food, fund, utilities. Yes, they can qualify for food stamps at a certain amount of time as adults, but that's not going to cover everything for them. So you have to really think about planning for your child, because they got to live somewhere. And as I said earlier, there are a lot of adults with disabilities in the state of Texas living with their parents or living with relatives. What kind of insurance will they have? Will they have Medicaid? Will they have Medicare? Will they be covered by your own private insurance? And most jobs, there are young adults who can be covered on their parents' insurance until the age of 26. For our children with disabilities, they can be covered past the age of 26. You just have to fill out a form with the insurance company to say that my child is 26 years old and I want to keep them on my insurance. And so that's real important. Planning. That's the whole thing. You've got to plan for your children. How to make a difference in how the dots connect. What can you do? The legislators are coming up soon next year. Talk to your people who represent you, because I guarantee you nobody knows about the waivers. That's why there's not that much money being put into them. That's why the list that I showed you, they're not funding it that much. So if your child's been on the list a long time, this is something that you can do to say, hey, let me educate you about the Medicaid waiver list. When you go to Congress, to the Senate in the state, to Congress, you need to support children with disabilities, educate them so that they know that this is important, because, as I said, the wait lists are very long, and they're going to get longer because they're going to always be children with disabilities coming into the world. Embrace the unique way your child is blooming, even if it's not in the garden you imagined. That's important. So let me tell you about the Parent Education Project Families Can. We are funded by a grant through the Texas Department of State Health Services for children with special health care needs. We have been funded for the past 20 some odd years. We work on the main campus of University of Houston. I work with two other wonderful ladies, Olga Guerra, who's our training coordinator and bilingual specialist, and Ava Fletcher, who's our transition coordinator. We all are parents of young adults with disabilities. So we understand the journey that parents go on with their children because we've been through it. And sometimes it's really important when you're talking to somebody and they're like, okay. And you're like, well, they don't get it. They don't understand that I wake up at 5:30 in the morning because my child had seizures all night long. And I'm getting a little sleep during the daytime, but I come to work. And then they look at you, why are you leaving so early? But you don't understand. I've been up half the morning with my child, taking care of my child, or I have to leave to go to an art meeting. We understand the journey of parents and what it means to take care of your child, and what it means to go to art meetings, what it means to talk to those therapists, what it means to talk to the doctors, to try to get the services that you want for your child. We provide a range of services to empower and support families who are caring for their children with chronic illness and or medical or physical disabilities. And it doesn't cost anything to be a part of our program. We serve ages 3 to 20. There's no income limit. The child may have Medicaid, but the way they look at Medicaid with us is that it can be a duplication of services. So the types of services that we provide, we used to do case management where we would go into the family's home and go and see them every year. We don't do case management anymore because we were all over Harris County. Now we just provide a service called Family Support Services. And that is connecting families to activities in the community. Activities such as children's museum passes, going to the rodeo. We get donations for the rodeo. Going to Houston Zoo. Some families have been to Kemah. There are some families who have gone to Galveston up there. Any activities that families can go to and enjoy with their child is really important, because we spend a lot of money doing therapies with our children, but we never have enough time for family time. And so having the family support program was really important because we're able to let families get a break to go out in the communities just like any other family members, any other families in the community can. And it also helps the siblings to be a part of it, because it's not all about this child with a disability. We're all going somewhere together and enjoying what the community has to offer for us. So that's really important. The services that we provide: information and referral. We do quarterly newsletters, bilingual and translation services, email updates on community-wide and recreational events, website access, family enrichment events, presentations and trainings, financial support registration for camps or sports and recreational activities, after-school programs, education workshops in English and in Spanish, We promote community collaboration, education, training, and parent conference, parent support education groups, medical home education. We do have upcoming virtual workshops. We got one coming up the end of this month called Pulling Back the Layers, and it's for siblings and families of special needs. And we decided to give the siblings a space to come and talk about what it feels like to be a sibling of a child or a sibling of a sibling with a disability. How does that affect my life? And we wanted them to share how they feel. And it's very interesting to hear. We've done it for about 4 years. It's very interesting to hear how these young people talk about their siblings and how it affects them. They love them, and most parents will say, well, the sibling has told me they're going to take care of their sibling if I'm no longer here. But I ask them to really think hard and deep about that, because they're being kind and they know they love their sibling, but you got to have some supports in place, like those long-term care programs, that the burden won't be so hard on that sibling and that they will enjoy being a part of their sibling's life to take care or to support them. March 19th, Life Beyond 18, we have Kim Hegwood, attorney at law, Your Legacy Legal Care, and she's going to talk about legal issues for families of children with disabilities. We do have Spanish workshops, and so Mercedes Alejandro is going to talk about Social Security. And then managing difficult behaviors, we have the Harris Center for Mental Health and IDD coming to talk to families about how to manage difficult behaviors for children with disabilities. This is our contact information. These are resources, and I'm going to send this to you all when I'm finished, that Dr. Sherry can share with you all, but these are just some of the community resources. We know that there are 2 transition clinics, one with Baylor College of Medicine Transition Clinic and Texas Children's Hospital Adolescent Medicine Clinic. And what I share with families is that you don't want your child seeing the pediatrician at age 19 and 20 and 21 years old, because they got all the young kids running around them. And you're fine with it because they've been seeing my child ever since they were born. But for that young adult being in a space with kids, they need to be seen by adult doctors who practice adult medicine, who has studied adults with disabilities. And so very important that they start transitioning at age 19 to either the Baylor College of Medicine Transition Clinic or to Texas Children's Hospital Adolescent Medicine Clinic. And then these are other parent resources, Texas Parent to Parent and Partners Resource Network. And then you have the ARCs, the ARC of Texas, the ARC of Harris County, the ARC of Fort Bend, the ARC of Haiti. And you have the Mayor's Office for Disabilities, who has a lot of great resources for families in general and for people with disabilities. The River Performing and Visual Arts, they have art programs, art, theater, dance for children with disabilities and also for their siblings. That's on West Gray. Then you have the Heart Program and the Hub. These are all activity-based programs where young adults can go. The Heart Program, they teach them work skills. They have contracts actually with NRG where they have a booth and they sell pizzas. And so they also contract with different community organizations where they go and change the vending machines out. So the Heart Program is on the north side of town. It's really a great program. The Hub is out in Katy, and it's a great program also. And then Navigate Life has great resources for families of children with disabilities. These are my references. And then in closing, I just want to say, there's no crystal ball. There's no magic to it. It is challenging work to advocate for your child. I do not have all the answers, and no one does. This journey will be filled with joy, and some tears, with frustrations with the system, with frustrations with your child, with yourself, because you may feel that you're not doing enough. But it also can be filled with beautiful memories of wins as you watch your child develop to become the wonderful person that you poured so much into. Our children develop at their own pace and speed, and what we want from them may not be a practical want. And we must meet them where they are and celebrate their victories, however big or small. Yes, I place my child in both worlds, non-disabled and disabled, thinking that a child from the non-disabled world would be her friend. But it was a temporary fix, and it was short-lived because they outgrew her where she was still standing. And I needed to realize that it was okay because the friendship was time-stamped. In her eyes, they are still her friends, even though she only talks to them for their birthdays or for holidays. I'm okay with that. I had to design her world as she saw it and believe that all was well. You must believe, and that is the hope that we all have, and preparation is the key, and it will continue through their lifetime with transitions, because transition is an everyday event. I hope that I've given you some nuggets, some tools for your toolbox, or a better understanding of the disability services in the community that will empower you. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you. Wow, man. We're going to have a time for question and answers, probably about 10, 15 minutes. So you can raise your hand or and we'll start calling people. And after the question and answers, Women Minister Leader Victoria Lee will give some comments and close us in a prayer. Okay, Angela.
Wow is right. I have a question. We just moved here. My son is 18, and we moved here from San Antonio. He was put on the list in fourth grade, and they would call every 2 years, make sure we were still there. Moving here, I just moved here a month ago. Do I need to put him on a new list here because I saw the website said Texas, but do I need to put him on a different list here now that we're in Houston?
No, you don't. Do you know what list he was on? And excuse me 1 second. Someone asked me to give the host privilege spec. I don't know how to do that. Okay, let me see. It's something that says host tools. Is that where I'm supposed to do that at?
Okay, don't worry about it.
It's good. We're good.
I'll try to fix it on my end. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You totally confused me, Renee. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Okay. All right. So the state of Texas, he was on a list there. Do you know what list it was?
The waiver, Medicaid waiver list.
Right.
Yeah. And it was the Alamo Area City, Council of Governance or something that would call me every couple of years, but it was to receive Medicaid benefits. And like you said, they said it's going to be about 10-year waiting list. And so they came to the elementary school and just put them on in fourth grade. And every couple of years they would just ask, you still live here? Do we still? I was like, yes, we do. We still live here in San Antonio.
Okay, but you need to transition to the Houston area.
Correct.
You don't think it's going to change where he is on the list if you put him on the state list with the class lists or with the leaders? You have to put him on the leaders, but I don't think it's going to change his position, but you have to give them an update of your address, because if we write you in San Antonio and say, oh, his name came up, and your mail is running around trying to find his way to you.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, you're welcome to connect with me and then show me something that you have, and then I can look at it a little bit more in detail, and then I can kind of guide you further.
Okay, great. Because I remember I wrote down his number, what number he was, and I thought, my goodness. So it was like 62,000.
Okay. Yes. It's a big waiting list.
Yeah.
And that's why I did the data that way, because reality is really important. And we see where they are, and it's like, oh, they got so many kids on the list, 900,000 kids. Oh my goodness, where's my child going to fit on that list?
Yeah.
Really important for families to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Someone else?
And you all can, my email address, you all are welcome to connect with me if you don't want to share out to the community about your particular situation. You all can do that.
I have a question.
Sure. Alex.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's really great information. I work for a pediatric office here in Houston that has about 15 clinics. Do you do this kind of talks for, I don't know if you do for Texas Children's, but just for providers like us, because this is a lot of new information for me. And my patients do ask those kind of questions. So yeah, I would love to get your information. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I know a lot of these kids, they do get services when they're small, when they're diagnosed with their different conditions. Would a social worker know? Oh, thank you I see your information there. Would a social worker, or who would be the person to direct them so the parents can get all this information as far as how to transition their kids once they're, I guess I just want more information about this to tell you the truth.
The usual process is the social worker is supposed to navigate the services for children, but it just depends, because if you don't know who to ask, then you don't know where to go. And so for families, it's important to know, okay, if I'm at the doctor's office, do they have a social worker? And if they have a social worker, and there are a lot of new social workers out there who may not know a lot of services that are out there. And so they will call me sometimes and ask me questions like, I got your number from here, and can you help? And I'm okay with that. We don't mind answering questions because, as I said, we did case management for 20 years. And so I don't mind answering questions because I do understand the journey, and it's important to share with other families so that they're not lacking, because what happens is sometimes we'll have parents whose children are 25 and they'll call and say, somebody told me about a list, but I don't know nothing about it. I've never heard of this list for the entire time that we've been here in Houston. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, so this is what you need to do. But realize it's going to be a long wait. It's not going to happen instantly. And so I'm, whatever supports that you need with your organization, we'd be glad to communicate with you about it. And I do know about Helping Heroes also. One of the person who sits on our Family Scan Advisory Committee, her nephew is part of Helping Heroes. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Did it make sense? That's my question. Did my explanation of the Medicaid waivers make sense to you all?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. Let me ask you a question. Dr. Townsend, if someone, because I think I've asked you this before, and you helped me tremendously with some families, is there, as far as guardianship, and they don't know what to do, is there any type of assistance that they can get, especially if you got a family that just does not have the funding to do it? And, is there any type of assistance that could be available for a person to support them getting guardianship?
Unfortunately, there is not. There is not. And that, as I said, I understand why the courts did it, but for families who've been caring for their children for a long time, why do I have to pay for guardianship to take care of somebody I've been taking care of all their life? And it probably could, I mean, laws could be changed. And you say, well, can y'all change that law, please? Because I shouldn't have to pay an attorney to be a guardian of my child. So, yeah, there is no assistance out there. As I said, that's why they created the durable power of attorney, the medical power of attorney for those kids who are kind of cognizant and can make decisions but need some support, the supportive decision-making form that can be used. It's a one-page document, and it just lists all of the types of things that that parent would help that child with. And most kids can sign their name. If you explain to your child, I want to help you, because if your child is in an accident and they need a blood transfusion and they're 18 years old, the doctor's going to look to that young adult to say, okay, you need to have a blood transfusion. You need to say, and you be saying, but I'm his mom. I'm her mom. I'm the one make the decision. Oh, no, ma'am, we can't. We'll have to go a different direction. We can't ask you because he is an adult. So it puts parents in a pickle, as I would say. Yeah.
Well, any other questions?
Yeah,
Did you have?
Matthew, this is Anitra. I
Yes,
have one question.
sure.
I have a daughter. She has dyslexia and ADHD, and she has an upcoming art meeting. And so I was given a Texas Worth Commission. She's in the 9th grade, so she's transitioning. I guess they're going to start going with the Workforce Commission. So they gave this survey, and I said, she's able to do this. She can talk, she can get dressed, she can feed herself. Will that eliminate her from getting like Texas Workforce help? Because even though she wants to go to college, she may not necessarily be able to go to college. Just, maybe a state school will probably suit her best. But I just want to make sure that I don't tell them, oh no, she's doing good, and she's not struggling right now, and then it stops her from transitioning, if I'm saying it right. Yeah.
Okay. The Texas Workforce Commission is to support people with disabilities, youth with disabilities, and helping them to transition into job. They will also, well, they did at one time, help with supports for a young person who wants to go to college. They will give them some types of supports also. I can't name them all, but I know that when my daughter was going, they paid a certain amount of money for her to attend the VAS program, and I paid the balance of it. So there is that type of support. And as I said, the VAS program is really a great program. They've evolved a lot since my daughter was in that program. I note that somebody asked about safe group homes. I don't know where there's a safe group home, because you have to look at how much do people make in those group homes. They don't make that much money. So you say, I want them to be in a group home and I want a professional working with them. That's the imaginary dream that we want to dream of. That's not reality. These people are making minimum wages sometimes working in group homes. So but the state says, we want that child to be independent. We want them to go into the communities. But as I said, I don't know where, I'm sure they're all safe, but it's also based on when you hear the news and they said, oh, they weren't licensed and all these people were living in this place and somebody was abused. And that's how they found out that it wasn't a safe place, because they weren't licensed. I mean, nobody was checking them, but something went wrong and then they ended up being on the news. So I can't say where there's a safe group home. Someone talked about their child holding a job and having some getting some psychiatric care, and that there's not like free care for psychiatric help. It's all based on your insurance and what your insurance will cover. And I always tell parents, if you're going to move to another job, look at who the person is that's managing the insurance to make sure that they will cover what your child needs, because it's all based in the codes. And so if your insurance company is not thinking about children with disabilities and they get this great plan and then something happens and you need supports for your child and they say, well, we don't do that. And you're like, oh my goodness, I should have asked that question originally. Like, what supports do you all provide for children with disabilities? Or is that included in this big contract that you signed? So it's really important to understand what your company will cover for children with disabilities. The person that said about transportation being late, I don't have an answer for that, because transportation, they have to cover so many areas and they are late picking up my daughter sometimes. My daughter doesn't understand time, so she will sit there forever and wait. And it may be 30, 40 minutes. And I'm looking at my clock and I'm calling her. And she said, well, they said they're 15 minutes away. And I'm like, but they're 40 minutes late. So for a parent, it's frustrating because you want your child picked up specifically at a specific time. And the way the system is designed, it does not do that very well sometimes. There are times that they pick it up early. And there are times that she will ride, and she loves riding and seeing the city. And I said, well, let's make it a learning event. When you're riding on Metrolift, ask the driver, where are we? What freeway are we on? That way you're informed. So should something happen, you're able to tell me where you are. And so she's like, oh, okay then. I said, don't just ride and enjoy the ride. Because she said, you don't have to pick me up. I can ride Metro. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do a learning experiment. Ask the driver, what freeway is he on, or what side of town is he on, so that you're aware. What street is he driving on? Okay, all right. So yeah, I want her to be educated as much as possible about who picks her up. You know, if it's a different person, because they're using Ubers now. Okay, well, send me the information of the driver, send me the picture of the driver so I can see who it is. And you don't sit in the front seat, you sit in the back seat. Okay. But be aware, don't have your earphones on where you don't know what's going on and where they're taking you. If it feels like you're not going the right way, you should ask a question. Why are you going this way? Okay. I know that there are programs out there for those kids who are high functioning autism, but the Hub Houston, Easter Seals of Greater Houston is another organization, but not every program fits every child. Julian's House, what may work for my child may not work for your child, and they may have the same disability, but it may not work for them. And so I can say, well, my daughter went there and it was a great experience for her. And you may go and say, my child had a bad experience. So therefore, I don't do any referrals to stuff. I just say, you have to send your child and you have to be the one to ask the question. You have to go and see if it works for you. Because as I said, what may work for my daughter may not necessarily work for your child. And so that's why we don't do like total referrals. I don't know whether they have an age cap or not. I have not actually connected to them. I just know that one of the person that sits on our advisory committee for Helping Heroes has, I think they have a website though. Their child is attending there. And then one person asked about jobs, training for jobs, and Houston Center for Independent Living is there, and Texas Workforce Commission. And as I said, there are people who contract with the Texas Workforce Commission that will help with job training. So I think that's everything that I addressed as far as things that was sent to me. I don't know if there's anything else.
No, thank you. This is enough. We want you to come back. So, but thank you so much. You've given us your information and you provided us with so many, different nuggets, like you said, that we're very, very grateful. Do you have anything, Dr. Vincent?
No, except to say thank you so much. This was really wonderful to just, like you said, you gave us nuggets. And those that have further questions, you can email me at ssvinson7@gmail.com and give me the questions. And I can get them to Dr. Townsend, or actually, she put her email up there and her phone number, so you can actually email her the question. And but don't be out there without, if you think of something tonight and go, oh, I wish I would have asked that, just get in touch with me. And because we want to be helpful.
All right. So at this time, Women Ministry Leader Victoria Lee will give some closing comments and pray us out.
Yeah, Dr. Townsend, just on behalf of the Greater Houston Church, thank you so much for your time and just for giving us this incredible presentation. And I just appreciate the fact that this was just incredibly well thought through and thorough. Obviously, this is your passion. And what's beyond the fact that it's your passion, it's your heart, because you're a mom in the battle with us. And I have a child with special needs as well. I have an 8-year-old son that has high functioning autism and ADHD. And so it always just helps to hear the hard news and the hard reality of facts from someone who gets it, from someone who really gets the struggle. And it's a lot. I know I'm still new to Texas, and I'm still kind of taking in all the information, and I will definitely be going back over your presentation and things. But just really on behalf of the whole church, just thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate the ongoing partnership that we're going to continue to have with you. So with that, I would love to pray just for special blessing on this ministry. You're doing God's work. You truly are. And everyone that's in this space that's serving this incredible community is doing God's work, and including the parents. We are doing God's work as well. And so I just would love to close us out with a prayer here at this time. Dear Heavenly Father, God, just thank you so much, God, for this time. We're so thankful for technology and Zoom and PowerPoint, and just how you're allowing us to be able to have access just to such incredible expertise and incredible information. God, I pray first just a special blessing over Dr. Townsend and her family and her coworkers and the folks that are really in this incredible space of serving our special needs community. Father, I want to pray for all the medical professionals and speech pathology professionals and all the different folks, even on this screen tonight. Father, the educational professionals who are serving this incredible community. Father, we know that each child with special needs is wonderfully and fearfully made, Father. And we just pray, God, that you would give us parents just the wisdom and the knowledge and the fortitude and the perseverance, God, to be able to find the little nuggets, find the superpowers within our special ones, our little ones, and help them be able to fly and graduate not just to the couch, Father, but to whatever it is that they're going to make a difference in this world. Father, we're just so grateful, Father, for this time. And we pray, God, just again, special blessing over this incredible ministry and these incredible children, God, and the amazing parents that champion and advocate these amazing, precious babies, God. Thank you so much again for this time. We pray for a great night. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. You all have a blessed evening.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.